Welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I am live in San Francisco, California. I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and as usual, down south in San Diego is my good friend and co-host Dennis Bithoulkas. Good evening, Dennis. How are you?
Deja vu. It seems like we just did this yesterday.
Yeah, I know. It's almost like we really did. This daily podcast thing, don't get used to it. New job starts next week, so back to 3 or 4 a week. That's not so bad. I don't think it's so bad, and it's free. It's free unless you want to leave us a tip in the super chat, which we'd always appreciate. What the hell? Because we hit 1,000 subscribers. We also have a Patreon, nerdrotic.com/Patreon. Please check it out. Tonight we are covering a show that I don't think enough people are watching, Dennis.
I don't think so either. It's a slow burn, as we were talking in our very long pre-production meeting, that this is something that people probably aren't picking up until later on. Maybe, haven't given it a chance as of yet. I mean, it's only 3 episodes in, but I don't really think it's caught in word of mouth as of yet. But it really should.
It really should. And Stars hasn't done it any favors as far as the marketing. I mean, it hasn't been terrible. It's got really good trailers, but and I guess it's getting kind of lost in the sea of so many shows out there. But folks, if you come across this just for the first few minutes and you don't want to watch the rest of this, please watch the show. Just you don't have to listen to us, just watch the show. And it's Counterpart, and it's with J.K. Simmons. And maybe because the lead is an older person, maybe there's some ageism going on here. I don't know, but
I think it's more because it's playing the ads more like a Cold War story than anything else, and it's downplaying the science fiction aspect of it, which or people could just be thinking that it's like Fringe. I've seen that before. I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, that's a definite possibility. This is not Fringe, okay? And not to bag on Fringe, by the way, because I kind of liked Fringe, but it's not as Fringe got a little corny, this is like played straight. It's a spy drama first, okay? It's not even a whodunit. It's a spy versus spy first, and just with the side of an alternate reality. Now, it does play a huge part in it, and like the show itself in its credits says, it's like a game of Go. It's just putting pieces randomly together, and it's got good reveals. Every show has felt like it's given you enough information to kind of wet your whistle, but it's not like vague like Lost was. It really gives you substantial information. It's great storytelling. What a great cast and great acting. And this Marks, the show creator, I honestly, before we had started this, had not heard of the guy. Very talented. The writer for this episode is Amy Berg. She did a great job. Yeah, this episode was the best written episode for sure. So let's start it out, Dennis. Both you and I kind of had the same feeling that this.
Yeah, it was slow to start off with. This episode was kind of slow, and I'm like, oh, this is their filler episode. Okay, kind of disappointed. And by the end of it, I was like, wow, this was not a filler episode. Okay, they definitely gave us a lot of information in this episode. As a matter of fact, as you can see from my notes here, I've got a page, almost 2 pages worth of notes there. So
nice. Yeah, I think I got a little less than you, but that's definitely I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
So we start out pretty much where we left off last week. We've got it was kind of a shit show last week with the killing of Baldwin's other. What was her name again?
Actually, we start off with Emily's accident 6 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that's right.
6 weeks ago.
Yeah,
and we get a flashback to how Emily's accident occurred, and then we flash back to today, where Howard is actually meeting her in the hospital. Is going, and that Emily Prime, we flash back to her in the theater watching a public health message.
Yeah, right before a movie.
Yeah, right before a movie, and very interesting. Basically saying that if you don't get vaccinated, you'll wind up in jail. If you don't report somebody who's showing symptoms of some kind of disease, you're going to go to jail and be quarantined. And all kinds of different things. And it's kind of just matter-of-factly kind of stated. Very, very weird. Very kind of creepy.
Yeah, it's a commercial. It starts out with a commercial with a bunch of kids playing in a playground, and they're all having fun and say, well, don't forget it's that time of year again to update your inoculations. And then it shows a kid coughing, and then all the other kids like put on masks and walk away from him. Like it was
And start pointing at him. Yeah, it was very.
He's sick. So you get remember last episode when we met Poe, and Poe was talking to both Emily and Howard Prime, and said, what they did to us, they deserve. He's kind of talking about there's like maybe
Pope, not Poe.
Poe, sorry, Pope.
Poe is from Altered Carbon, and
Pope. No, I heard him say it sounded like Poe in the show, but I had it in my head. So Pope said, the winds, we kind of feel like there's a war brewing, and it's definitely a cold war between these two sides. And he referenced a couple times like what they did to us.
Exactly.
And he's now not the only one who has said that. There's another character, Ian, who was Emily's partner, kind of makes some references to that too. There's a lot of anger from the Prime side towards, the side where the non-Prime side, whatever it is, the alternate side.
The side that we started on.
The side we started on. So yeah, so she's sitting in the movie theater, and she has another guy comes up to her and sits down. It's very clandestine. He's got his popcorn, and he like hands her a little coded message, and it's whatever the code was from Midnight Station, which is we just heard of last episode, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And whoever Midnight Station is, but they're on the Prime side, and the coded message was from a particular person. And Emily looked pretty shocked when she got it.
Yeah, it was actually we find out later on, of course, it's the action code for a rendition that was going to happen. So
and it was a rendition of Howard Prime.
Yeah. And that comes into play a little bit later as we go along, but just to kind of keep things in perspective as we're going through here, because there's a lot of twists and turns actually.
There is, yeah. So she bolts out of the movie theater and makes a phone call real quick.
Yep. And excuse me. We cut back over to she also gets informed that Baldwin has been arrested on the other side and is going to be interrogated by the police on the other side. And that, of course, that's when she bolts out. She's like, damn, especially since she's part of housekeeping and doesn't know anything about this. She's the last one to know. Everyone else seems to know about this already. So she goes out and starts making a phone call, and we cut over to Baldwin getting interrogated by the police. And basically they're just asking her, so why did you kill Nadia? And why do you have her fingerprints? Her fingerprints on the gun, you killed the cop. And you have the same fingerprints as her. What's going on? And she's not answering any questions, of course, at all. And then we cut back over to Peter Quill, who's doing his afternoon run.
Yes, with a lady of the afternoon or morning, I would say.
An afternoon light.
Yeah, and he gets interrupted with a little phone call. But real quick, did you mention that when Emily, she asked for a favor when she walked out of that movie theater, we'll get to that, what that favor is. But she looked panicked when she saw whatever that coded message was. And you're right. So Peter Quill gets woken up by a call from. It's always awkward to get a call from your father-in-law when you're, banging a lady of the night. And he's looking at pictures of Peter Quill and his baby, right? And he's like, I'm in your office. You should have been here an hour ago. So this leader of this really clandestine organization goes into work late, is like cheating on his wife in the morning, and is also the last one to know about what's going on, what happened.
Yeah, everyone seems to be the last one to know. All these people that are supposedly in power, that are supposed to be keeping the checks and balances, are the last ones to know, and everyone who is supposedly, lower echelon, if you will, all are in the know about what's happening because they're embroiled in all of this, which is kind of interesting. It's top down.
Yes, and Peter Quill, by the way, is played by Harry Lloyd, who I love. Okay, he was Viserys in Game of Thrones, and got the Golden Crown, by the way, and he also was in Doctor Who in one of the best episodes. It was a 2-parter. So like he's good. He's got a lot of range. He usually plays kind of like he's in the douchey book, where they like we need a douchebag, an English
Weasley,
douchebag. Yeah, Weasley. But I like him. I think he's really good. So they have a meeting all at Howard's house again.
Well, before that, we get Bob, Emily's boss, basically telling Ian, her lover, to take Emily over to the other side. This is going to be her first trip.
Yeah, and that's that favor she called in.
That's the favor that she's called in. Yeah.
Yeah. She went over. So Ian has been there before?
Ian has been there before. He's part of the diplomatic attaché. He's part of the inquiry team. So he's been over there before to inquire about different things. And that's why he's kind of surprised that Emily's going to go, because she's not supposed to go at all since she's part of housekeeping.
And we find out later, like, kind of why I understand why she's not supposed to go now. It totally makes sense at the end. Because at first I'm like, well, like, what does he care? He's her partner and he's sleeping with her. So they're like boyfriend, girlfriend right now. So, and she just does do it for me, and we're not quite sure like why she feels like at first they make it sound like when she left the movie theater, because she got blamed for some of the a mess previous to the other mess, the earlier mess from the second episode, when Howard killed the guys from where the hell they were from? Bulgarians. Yeah, he killed the Bulgarians. She got blamed for that, so she's trying to clear her name. And she's also trying to figure out what Howard's up to do. But to this point, we're thinking like, okay, her and Howard Prime were together, but they're on the outs, right? And up until recently, she wasn't showing a lot of affection towards him. So she looked like she was just kind of over him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when we cut back over to Howard Prime going to the embassy to meet with Lambert, to talk about Baldwin. And basically Lambert says, you know what? I got this lunch thing I've got to go to. There's an inquiry team coming over. You're going to stay here and deal with the inquiry team because I don't have time for this. Bye. See ya.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a dick move.
It was, but for being like a guy who's like a lot younger than J.K. Simmons, he still called Howard Prime a child. He's all, leave the adults to clean up your mess.
Well, he called him a liberated child.
Child.
Yeah, because he comes out and he says, you're basically like a liberated child. He goes, you come over, you make a mess, and the adults have to clean it up.
Yep. So he kind of put his dominance there and took off for this diplomatic meeting, and the other diplomat is, of course, Peter Quill's father-in-law, who we were just talking about. And at first I wasn't sure, like, okay, who's, usually diplomats are diplomats. They don't have a ton of power per se, like in the government level, Peter Quill, but you find out later, like, who's the boss on that one.
Yeah. In the meantime, we also have Howard, just regular Howard, and Aldrich going to the police station to meet Baldwin. And this is also part of Howard Prime saying he wants this Howard with, on this team and to be made into, a strategist so that he can, be up to speed on everything. He says he's got a brain. He can, do things. I want him watching my back, essentially, is what he says. And so Howard and Aldrich end up going to the police station to go and talk to Baldwin.
And again, just to break in real quick.
Yeah.
This is a point I was wondering. It's like, why the hell does he want other Howard there so badly? He just met him, and I know it's him, right? Mm-hmm. But this is super high security clearance. Howard Prime is Section 2, whatever that is, but that's above what Peter Quill is in their side of the world, right? Yeah. So, like, at this point, I'm like, okay, does he just want him replaced? It seems really weird. He's forcing Peter to put him up the strategy, right? Which is a high level position. And Howard, although he's wanted it, like, let's be real, the guy wasn't ready for the job. Like, he's just too innocent, and he's just too naive. Or so we think. Okay. But at this point, it just doesn't look possible, but he's really pushing for this. And at this, I'm like, okay, why? Why? And we find out a little bit.
Yeah. And so Baldwin basically when she meets Aldrich, she goes, your men were the part of the team that killed everybody, including Nadia, right? He's like, yeah. He goes, I don't want to speak to you. I'll speak to him, though.
Yep.
I'll speak to Howard. And because she recognizes him as being kind of an innocent in a way. And so Howard comes in and says, I really don't know what I'm supposed to say here. And they basically just start talking about their others, is what happens.
Yeah, and she recognized him trying to save Nadia, right?
Yes,
so she's like, okay, there's something different, and she kind of susses out that, like, okay, you're new at this, and you're different from your other, and he's all, yep, but then she says something pretty interesting, I think.
Well, he also says something interesting too. She says, what do you think about your other? And he goes, I wish I never met him.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll get to our theories on him a little later. So she, they have a little conversation, and they basically, she says to him, she's like, you think you're better than Howard Prime? You think you're better than your other? But you'll find out, I'm paraphrasing here, but you'll find out eventually, like, where you two meet, which I thought was really interesting way to say it, because then she followed it up by repeating again what she has said before, like, we can't escape who we are.
Yeah.
So that goes along to our your little theory, which I'm tending to agree with a little bit. That our nice Howard is playing like the long game. Like,
yes,
he's definitely, yeah.
There's something about him that just is screaming out. He's not who he says he is. That he's actually even worse than Howard Prime in some way and form, and just we haven't seen it yet.
And you, to get in the weeds on this one, you'd say, well, what Nadia and Baldwin are so different, but they're actually not. They were both, and bear with me here, they're both really driven people, like, yes, very driven. And Nadia was just fortunate, would just put herself into her music. Okay. But she was still just as driven as the other Baldwin is. And it's the whole theory. There's been it was on Michael Jordan, I believe. It was a big article on this. It was called Heart of the Killer, right? And it wasn't using hyperbole. It was like basically saying that Michael Jordan is so freaking driven, and he has a lot of in common with like dictators and CEOs, and just like this they just want to win all the damn time, even when they don't need to. They just want to win. There's like this competitiveness, this drive. So Nadia and Baldwin were essentially the same. Just one put it into art, and the other put it in a different form of art.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, I think Baldwin's world versus Nadia's world, and we'll get to this a little bit later, had a lot more to forming her. So it's that whole nature versus nurture.
Yeah. So that diplomacy scene was great, because it really just gave us a quick little glimpses, but it was really interesting where you see the differences are.
And that's when we start seeing Quill's father. Father-in-law comes in and says he sees Baldwin as currency to get what he wants. And basically they say, oh, we can get the hepatitis C vaccine and other things that they want, that the other side has, and by turning over Baldwin to them. So then we come to Emily crossing over, and we get the crossing over instructions. And it's the first time we've seen a crossing in its entirety. And very, very odd. I mean, you have to go through by yourself. It's all a personal journey as you're going to cross there. And you have to follow certain instructions. You don't make eye contact. You don't speak to anybody. You're not supposed to look around, that kind of thing, as you're going through. And also, you can't see, when you're going through the tunnel, if you will, the other side until you cross over. So it's kind of like a null zone almost, in a way. And it wasn't really represented quite well on screen, but we heard about it from the creator later on at the end of the episode. He was describing what he was looking for on that.
Yeah, that was interesting, because now that I heard him describe it, and definitely recommend. They did this with Ash vs. Evil Dead and with American Gods, and I do like how Stars do this, but they have the creator of the show talk for like 5 minutes, kind of walking you through the
2
episode.
minutes. Yeah, it's a little 2 minute.
Okay. minutes, 2 or 3 minutes, who cares? And they're walking you through the episode, and he hits the points where it's not like it's bad storytelling. He just enhances it, gives you a little better explanation. So walking through the tunnel is supposed to be mundane. He made a point like, we don't want some green flashing lights or anything. We want it to be mundane. But what he described, I can see it in my head, but it would be impossible to visualize on TV, which makes me think, well, maybe you should have done something a little different. But it's not like where the two worlds meet. It's the tunnel goes down, and it's not supposed to be dark. It's supposed to be void. Okay, so if you can wrap that around in your brain, there's a difference, and it's like what Dennis just said, it's nothing. You see nothing, but you have to walk through. So they visualized it by just having her walk to the camera, and then it goes dark, and then she's on the other side. So it's basically a void. So they don't see anything. When they walk through, it gets black a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're just in another world, which is very interesting. I thought it was really interesting that they have to go through alone. I on the surface level, that could be just a rule, like it might have no side effects, but
it would have been that something went wrong, and two people walking through after the experiment.
And they I think after hearing the creators of the show talk about it, I think that something happens if more than one person walks through at the same time. It gets freaky. And
there's really got to be some kind of explanation for it, which I'm hoping we see later on.
Well, he did, because he said something very interesting. He said he alluded to the fact that it's a personal experience to walk through.
He did say that. It's true.
Yeah. So there's way more to it. And he also said there's tons of Easter eggs to keep an eye out for. And each time you see a crossing, it more and more will be revealed, and you'll see why you have to go through alone and why it's such a big deal. So I love that aspect of it. I thought that was cool. I was like, well done. Although it wasn't visually well done, the theory of it is very cool. So.
Yeah. And so then we end up seeing Ian and Emily. They get put into a car with blacked out windows. They get taken over to the embassy, and we find out that they are going to be Howard Prime's inquiry team.
Yep.
Which he's thrilled about. He's absolutely thrilled about to have Emily, his ex-wife, and her lover interrogating him. And as he puts it in the room, he goes, I don't trust you. I don't trust you. I don't even know who the hell this guy is. And you, I know you. You know I know you.
Yeah.
That was really good.
That was really well done. No, I love Prime Howard. I do. There's nothing and I kind of don't want him to be bad, but I think maybe he's not. Maybe he's not.
I don't think he is. I think they're going to be playing him off as bad, but I honestly think Meek Howard is the evil Howard, if you really want to say, he's from the Mirrorverse.
Yeah, definitely. Much better execution there, by the way. If they'd given him a goatee, though, I'd have been totally okay with that.
Yeah, it would have been kind of cool.
That would, at least at first, and then he could have shaved it to look like the other Howard, right?
Exactly.
So Ian and Howard and Emily are all in the room together, and Ian's having sex with Emily. I don't know if they're boyfriend or girlfriend, but they're definitely getting it on.
She's pumping him for information.
She's doing a fine job, I'm sure. And what did he say? He's all, at least I have an answer to the question of who you had to sleep with to get that job.
Exactly. That was a good one.
That was a good one.
And so she basically, Emily says, you know what? Just clear the room. We need to talk. Is what she says to Howard. And that's when we find out what happened with them. Is that they had gotten together without him knowing that she worked for the agency, and he found out that she worked for the agency, and that's what ended the relationship. But he couldn't trust her anymore after that, and so that's why that was what they broke up over, or what he broke up over, and why he's so standoffish with her, even though we saw that he still kind of cares for her. Or so we thought. We saw him stroking comatose Emily's fingers in the first episode. And we'll get to that in a minute. But let's go back over. And basically what he says is how do you put it? Emily finally gives him the answer to what she got in the theater, and what she got in the theater was the authorization code, the action code for the rendition, which came from Alexander Pope.
Yep, which I don't know if I believe right away.
I don't either.
They because and even Howard Prime was like, no freaking way, and you could just tell that those two had a history, a long history.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I don't know that for sure, but it kind of makes me believe it. Now we'll get to it, because at first I thought, we're still so early on. We don't know who's setting who up. Okay. So I don't know if this Emily's good or not. She could be just playing, somebody's definitely playing somebody for the long game, because they're just set it up within the storytelling. There's been so many short games. And the great thing about storytelling is you always tell what's coming in your story within another scene,
Exactly.
So
You
I
just
wasn't
allude
sure.
to it. Yeah.
I wasn't sure at all, but it turns out that might have been the case. But they they had a talk, and what she said, I didn't bring you in the fold, and that's why we break up. And then she asked him, are they happy in this world?
Yeah. Are we still together in this world? Is what she says. And he won't answer her.
No, he's being very smart. She was talking way too much. She started she's all, I don't care if this room is bugged. And he's like, okay. Like, he didn't even say, okay. He's all,
yeah,
all right,
exactly.
do what you got to do.
And we also go back to the negotiations at this point. And Peter Quill's father-in-law is actually making negotiations with Lambert. And we get a good view of what the other side has. They have the AIDS treatment, mapping the human genome, all came from them. And one of the negotiations is they want the census, the last two U.S. censuses, and also the oil deposit mapping near the Marianas Trench.
Their Marianas Trench, yeah.
Their Marianas Trench.
Okay,
yeah.
So what was weird about this, and we don't want to rush across this one because this one's really important, is why in the hell would you want census data? That's but we kind of find out why. So Peter Quill's phone, he left it on the table, and this phone starts buzzing, and apparently that was just a big freaking no-no.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have cell phones. Remember, the cell phones all came out in the very first episode. So they don't have cell phone technology, obviously.
Well, they have some kind of phone over there. She's like on it, and it's like some weird little screen thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's plastic. I think they're freaking just hiding it from each other. I think one side is saying we don't have technology and stuff. I think one side is actually way more advanced than the other.
Well, Lambert even says that they had a pandemic that almost was an extinction level.
Well, I was going to get to that. I think what is going on is that's why we saw all the analog equipment in the station there. It was just like I said in the first podcast. They just want to show as little as possible, because that's what you do. You would show, so you would show even anywhere in the office. I wouldn't put anything. So they have really old computers throughout the entire building. That totally makes sense now. Make everything analog so they can't hack anything. Now, I don't know what the difference is. The phones on Howard Prime's universe look way more advanced. Okay.
Oh yeah, the plastic clear see-through. Yeah, those look seriously way more advanced.
So that's why I thought it was weird that he's all, oh well, you guys got the technology, but we've got the, it's like no. Yeah, I think one side is way more advanced than the other, and I'm still convinced, or not convinced anymore. I thought our side was the Prime side, but no, our side is supposedly nice Howard's side now. I'm back to thinking that. Or maybe our side doesn't exist in this world. I have no idea. Or maybe there's multiple sides, but they're definitely playing each other, which I thought was really interesting. And the census report leads up to the pandemic. So there's two things they said. They said there's they would offer the initial. What was the initial offer first? It was information, a census and information on the 2009 earthquake.
It was a 2009 earthquake, and there wasn't a census involved in the first one,
or some cure or something like that.
And then
he didn't take the first deal. So the diplomat who was Peter Quill's, I don't know his name, Peter Quill's
Father-in-law. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't take the deal. So after the diplomat for Howard Prime's side sees that cell phone, he kind of loses his temper a little bit, and they want Baldwin pretty bad. Okay, and that's where it kind of flares up that they think that the pandemic was released on their side on purpose.
Exactly.
So hence why we got the commercial with the get your inoculations, and I think that's interesting. I think it even shows your hand that a diplomat was asking for census, information after a pandemic
to see how many were actually taken out.
Yeah,
that's what you want to do. You want to kind of see exactly, was there a pandemic? Are you just saying it's a pandemic just to, kind of bolster your side so you can gain sympathy, so you can get more information from us and vice versa? And yeah, exactly what you would do.
Well, and you'd also want to know, they asked for the United States Census in particular, which they're not. I mean, I would ask for Europe's census. I don't know if you can get, I don't know if there is one, but that's because that's where they are. But I think a part of that is you want to know how many, I don't know, men of fighting age they would have, just in case there is a war. You'd want to know like what numbers you're dealing with. Now, I don't know how there'd be a war if only one person at a time can go through the door, unless there's some other way. But I think it's interesting. I think it's more involved with the pandemic though, which is interesting. And do you think that they did release a pandemic on purpose on that side?
Always a possibility.
Always a possibility.
Always a possibility. So then we cut back to Howard and Emily. And basically, Emily and Ian are going to leave. They're done. And Howard isn't giving up any more information. And when Emily asks him, this is who she knows, Pope on her side, and the higher ups is the one that's given him up. Who does he know? And he just kind of smiles and doesn't say anything because he's not giving her anything.
Nope.
And she's like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm done. And Howard asks her very, very weirdly, he says to Emily to light a candle by his mother's picture at St. Christopher's, which she just kind of takes in stride and leaves.
The eagle flies at midnight.
Yeah, exactly. And Ian even asks her, he goes, so did he give up any information? She says, no, he didn't give up anything. He goes, why don't I believe you? Kind of thing. And she just kind of goes,
everything I say would be a lie, which is funny, which is an honest statement. And you really think about it. So then the big screw up happens.
Well, yeah, we have Lambert comes back actually just as they were leaving and thanks them. And then tells Howard after they leave that when his visa expires in 12 hours, that his travel privileges are going to be revoked with it. So he's not going to be able to come back and forth as he has been.
Yeah, that's bad. That's very bad. So, and then they have to transport Baldwin. They're getting everything set up. It's a done deal. Peter Quill goes to his father-in-law, goes, listen, can we delay this another 24 hours? I need some more time. She was starting to talk.
Yeah, exactly.
And she was really, and you could tell Baldwin is very disillusioned with the side she's on. Like she's getting more and more disillusioned.
I think she's disillusioned with the whole game.
With the whole thing. Yeah. Especially like after, and it pretty much when you meet your other, like it supposedly psychotically breaks you.
Yeah. And they kill your other in front of you.
Yeah. So her motivations have definitely changed. And I always kind of thought that she was not 100% bad, on a mission that might be a good mission, by the way. We don't know yet.
Yeah. I don't think her heart was ever into this to begin with, that she just kind of fell into this kind of work for whatever circumstances that had happened.
And when she was sent to kill Emily, she even said that to Nice Howard that hey, it was just a job.
Yeah,
it was just a job. And honestly, we were thinking, through all this clandestine mess we're going through here. Where I was always wondering, like, why would they want to kill Howard's wife? She's just, we don't even know what she does. She's just a wife right now, and we're assuming that she's with Howard. We just have this assumption that she just must be this nice housewife, or she has a normal job, and just yeah.
But did you also get the fact that Baldwin knows Howard Prime again, the way she said it? Because when she was talking to him about his other, and she was asking way too many questions about his other, like she already knew what the answers were.
Well, Aldrich has said that before, like, you can learn a lot from your other. So she could be sizing him up, or it could be like we said before, like the first podcast, that it looks like she worked for him at one time, or definitely knows him, very familiar with him. So that's for sure.
And so basically en route to her being taken over to the other side, their van is stopped by 4 cars. These guys in ski masks and guns come out, start shooting at the van, which is armor plated. And since they can't get in, they jump up on top of it, pour gasoline on top of it, and basically say, we've got to the count of 10 before we light it up. And if you look at the face of the man holding the lighter, it looks very familiar. The eyes and the eyebrow ridge. We actually went back and looked at this.
We did.
It looks a lot like Aldrich.
It looks like Aldrich. It's definitely, we haven't seen his other yet. And as the show goes on, I guess we're given the impression, just because we're looking at things through Nice Howard's eyes at the beginning, that things have really separated. So you're really, really different from your other, but
you're still the same.
Maybe not. Maybe not so much. So I went back and looked. Dennis and I both went back and looked. I think that's Aldrich. It was definitely Aldrich. And it was a group trying to they free Baldwin. Obviously, Nice Howard. And this is another tip off. Nice Howard, Aldrich was in the van with Howard and Baldwin. Aldrich put the gun up to Baldwin's head, right? And he was ready to shoot. He was ready to burn and shoot. He was like, that's my job. And Howard opens the door.
No, Howard just tells Aldrich, he goes, open the door for God's sakes, because they're going to burn us alive.
Yep.
And then Aldrich finally, by the count of 1, is like, okay, and he opens the door. And that's when they tell him, drop the weapon. And
I thought that was very interesting, by the way.
Yeah, considering that they didn't shoot him. Well, 1, that he opens the door, and 2, that he doesn't get shot.
No. I mean, well, Baldwin says, leave him. But why would she bother to leave Aldrich? Like, I would say, well, kill him, but leave him. That's what I'd have done. So for her to leave them both tells you something.
Well, remember, to shoot your own double is very, very painful to do, as she found out. And having, Aldrich shoot Aldrich Prime shoot Aldrich was probably not going to be in the cards.
He wasn't the only one with a gun, though.
True.
Other person could have shot it. So, I don't know. I thought it was interesting that they just spared them both. You think, because like that's an adversary. The other Aldrich is going to come after you. So, I mean, you've killed people in the past. Why not just off him? So, Aldrich working with Aldrich, definitely a possibility. Now, that's a big assumption, since we haven't actually seen a double Aldrich, where this is just an assumption. That's all it is. But that's what we do here.
Remember, Aldrich, that we know, has said that he knows all about the other side. And he knows, remember, he said something very cryptic to the Howard Prime. He says, I know all about your people over there. And it wasn't kind of in a offhanded way. So, yeah, I definitely think he's working with his other.
Yeah. I mean, it's also part of his job, his housekeeping, but I think it's a definite possibility.
Yeah.
Possibility of a definite, maybe. I don't know. Actually don't go together very well. And
that's when we have Howard Prime comes up with the idea that, since he's telling now I just forgot his name there,
Peter Quill.
And Peter Aldrich, that to send Howard over in his place instead of Howard Prime going back, basically dressing him like Howard Prime and sending him back in his place, so that even though the visa expires, they're going to realize the mistake maybe a week later and send him back. And in that time, he can find out who's trying to kill, basically what's going on in this whole mess. So it gives him a week's time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a mistake. I would not trust this at all. But what Howard Prime hangs over Nice Howard's head is your Emily safer with me here or with you here? All right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, oh, this has been a big setup all along. And that's kind of what I thought from the beginning, that this was just Howard wanting to take other Howard's place to defect over here. That's what I thought it was. They were definitely insinuating that in some aspects of it. But then the end of the show happens and kind of changes everything. And that's where we say the show starts off really normal. And we're like, okay, maybe this is just going to be like, they'll give us a bunch of information episode, which is cool, but it's just a normal episode. If you want to rate the episodes, they've all been like pretty much, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, as far as like good storytelling, excitement, just being smart, action, and keeping my attention. Like every show, there's moments you kind of go, okay, I'm gonna go look at my phone real quick or something like that. No, not with this show at all. And then the ending happens. So Emily goes to the church.
Yeah, Emily goes to the church. She goes to light the candle in front of his mother's picture, and then she reaches down underneath the baseboard because it's up on top of a little board there, and she pulls out a letter that's underneath there, or some letters. Yep. And she goes and sits down by the river, and starts reading the letters, and they're from Emily. Emily Prime is reading the letters from Coma Emily. And basically,
this is where I get confused. Okay, so I watch all my TV with the closed captions on. It's a habit I took on. Oh God, it was some show where people mumbled a lot. I can't remember what it was.
The Expanse, if I remember correctly.
That was way before Expanse. I've been doing this for 10 years. It was somebody. Yeah, Taboo for one is definitely a good show to like keep your closed captions on.
The grunts in there.
Habit I've taken, and plus I want to try to catch as much as I can. If you ever wonder what we do here, it's visceral reaction. I don't go to other websites. I don't read reviews or anything. I watch the show and we turn the camera on and we tell you about it. So it's a visceral reaction. So we don't cheat. I don't know, but so that's why sometimes that's why I like when I catch stuff, it's what I catch, and it's kind of like walking you through. It's like a post-game show, a football or anything. So
Emily Prime,
in the closed captions, it says Emily Prime is reading that.
Oh, really?
Okay, so which Emily Prime? Well, that's the question, though. Is it her using her voice in her head, or is it the other Emily reading it to Emily?
Well, I was listening to it, and so Emily Prime is reading Coma Emily's letters to Howard Prime.
Yep,
and they're love letters. So she has actually been sleeping with Howard Prime and basically telling him not to ever meet Howard because not to get involved with him at all because she doesn't want him to know that she works for the agency.
Yeah. But now if something happens to her, she asked him to protect him.
Yes.
So, wow. That's kind of the ultimate cuck.
That is a gut
oh
punch.
Man,
is it really cheating when yourself is cheating on your wife with you? I don't know. Is that?
It's very Austin Powers.
Yeah.
Technically, it's not cheating, baby. so yeah, go ahead.
So Emily Prime ends up going home, and her light switch.
Wait. Okay, so you read the letter, and the letter says, he doesn't know anything about this. I've been working for. Well, we don't know what agency she's working for. I'm assuming it's housekeeping too, maybe, or diplomacy, or Howard says he's in diplomacy, but some other section 2 or something like that, because he's way more powerful than diplomacy. So she's been working where Howard works, where Nice Howard works, just in a different level. They never saw each other going to work or anything. That's a little weird. So that Emily kept it secret too. So Howard was sleeping with other Howard's Emily, but then he was sleeping with the other Emily at some point too, right?
I think.
And that's what Emily was talking about. She's like, I understand what drew you over here, and because when she was talking to him, she's like, I don't know what happened between us, but it was so long ago, but I understand what drew you over here. And I was like, what the hell is she talking about? What is she talking about? Now we know that she was that must be something really amazing about this Emily. But yeah. And so she goes home, and
basically her light switch doesn't work. So she flips, the wall switch doesn't work. So she flips on the lamp by the little nozzle on the wire there and gets pricked on the finger. It's like, ow. And she sucks on her finger, and all of a sudden she starts feeling a little bit dizzy, faint, falls to the ground, and has her eyes open still. And we see some people with booted, basically they have shoe covers on over their shoes. They come in, they drop some pills down by her, they remove a needle from that little light switch there, and walk out, and basically make it look like a suicide.
Yeah, and she's still like a little bit alive at the end. So like you think she's dead. Her eyes are wide open. She looks pretty dead, and her mouth twitched, although she could be dead at that point. And yeah, they take that needle out, walk out, and she's dead.
And that's where we end it.
She looked pretty dead.
Looked dead to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where we end it. So that Emily, so we have one Emily. It starts out with Emily getting in a quote unquote accident. And as we always suspected, it wasn't an accident. And when she warned Howard at the end, that letter said, I forgot this part, is she said, well, if I come to any harm, you need to find the other Howard and protect him. Right.
Yeah.
So that shows that Howard Prime is actually probably good, we think. And he's protecting nice Howard. But
we don't know what nice Howard is actually nice Howard, because with this Coma Emily working for the agency in this capacity, and he could easily either have been held down by her. We were talking about this in our long pre-production meeting, which could be the change. That's the reason why, he stayed as he has for so long in one position for 30 years. He could be working for clandestinely, like she has, for, a different part of the agency, and just hiding it very well. And we're not seeing it even in this at all, or now. Or he could be working for somebody else completely different. There's all kinds of possibilities.
There's so many possibilities. And that's what the fun thing about this show is, especially when it's well executed. You can do so many crazy things with this show. And it's just like revealing layer after layer.
It's like an onion.
And exactly. It's like, and if done well and well executed, you can go along. This can get crazy and a lot of fun. And I can't wait till next week. This is a very good show. So we just spoiled the hell out of it. So if you haven't seen it, I mean, definitely watch it. Find a way to watch it. I know it's buried on Stars, which isn't even airing in New York right now, New York City. So again, you can find it. There's, if you want to wait till the series is over and then do the Stars online 7-day free trial and binge it. That's one way to do it.
Yeah,
and
that's what
duck out before your trial's over.
That's what Forrest was saying, that he couldn't afford Stars at the moment, which is fine. Yeah, just do the 7-day trial, free trial, and
but wait till the series is over, so you can catch them all. And I get it, man. There's so many streaming services now, and it's like they nickel and dime you to death. $5.99 here, $10.99 here. Then they still show you effing commercials, which Stars does not, thankfully. Actually, Stars, their online thing is pretty good. Actually, it doesn't skip. They give you a little extra at the end. Dennis and I found it with Ash, and it's been pretty good. Actually, theirs is one of the better ones. And it's affiliated with Amazon. You can also jump in on other stuff. There's also other ways to watch a show that aren't downloading. I mean, there's streams everywhere. Just you be clever and use Reddit, and you can catch a stream. So definitely watch the show. It's really, really good. I'm telling all my friends, and I had to kind of decompress from Altered Carbon because I burned through that entire series today. I'm gonna have to rewatch a couple more episodes.
I'm doing little bits and spurts here, so I'm on episode 8 right now. It was where I left off.
I know. Yeah, it doesn't help.
Take breaks.
No, it does not help to just watch it all the way through, because I honestly, I spaced out towards the end, so I'm gonna go back and start at 6 in the morning tomorrow, and not 6 in the morning, but episode 6, and go through it because we are going to be podcasting the rest of that series tomorrow and Monday. So it is fantastic. It is so good.
They were talking about it actually in our chat here.
Yes, yeah. Got any questions in the chat, or are they just talking about Ultra Carbon?
So one of the things Jody said when we're going back about us saying that Howard and Howard Prime should have been wearing a goatee. Jody said a bit on the nose though for a goatee, don't you think?
You know what? Sometimes on the nose is okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with on the nose.
He also says, no way. Yeah, I don't believe it either. In a spy thriller, I tend to assume people lie, and there are characters that are playing long games, at least for the well-written ones.
Yep. There's nobody really super nice in any spy thriller. Come on, please. Although that would be a flipping the script. Like in the end, you find out he was just nice the whole time and everybody else was screwed up. But you know what J.K. Simmons is great at is garnering sympathy. Like you feel like so much sympathy for the man. He's brilliant at that. You know,
it's the puppy dog guys.
Yeah, you know when the original Emily got injured, right, and he was just left alone with the clipboard. I mean, this must be a really he is always in character, even when there's nobody in the room. Which that's playing the long game. You know, if you're going to be a true psychopathic spy, you go method. You method actor. You're like Johnny Depp. You know, just like a pirate, all the time.
If you notice, Meek Howard, when he's in the room with Quill and Aldrich and Howard Prime, he's always making them like tea or drinks or something like that. Yep. He's not part of the sitting in the conversation. He's listening to them though. He's listening to everything that's going on. He's gathering information is what I'm thinking he's doing, as he's kind of pretending to be this person who doesn't really care about what else is going on in there. He's just there to give them the coffee or give them their drinks or whatever, to be unobtrusive. But
part of grifting, part of being a con, and it's also part of the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing man he didn't exist.
Yeah.
No, that's if you're a good thief, you want to you basically if you want to suss people out, you just convince everybody you're the meekest or dumbest person in the room.
You become invisible.
Yeah, you become invisible, and that way you can observe everything. And then people are way more relaxed around you too. They're like, "Oh, this guy's just an idiot. I have no respect for him, or no respect."
And they give up all the information in the
They
world.
give it all up, and it's very smart. So I think you're on something there, pal. I do.
Yeah. Jody had a lot to say here. So he says, if you know what you're doing and what you're looking for, census data can be surprisingly helpful. They aren't quite as helpful for gleaning certain types of information, but still very useful.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they borrowed a lot of this from the Cold War, but census data is mainly it's how many men of fighting age do you have? That's the number one thing you want to know. How big is their army? And even though if it's going through one at a time, they can assume that maybe there's a bigger hole somewhere. Maybe this isn't the only hole. They're starting us off in this very small place. We're just in a particular part of Berlin. We haven't really expanded out. I love when they do the fade ins and you could tell it's the other world when they fade in the other building. That's not in the other world. Love that. That's cool. It kind of looks like Titan's Tower, by the way.
When they do the shimmer, do a little shimmer, and you just see the skyline change.
A cross dissolve, and this is well done. This is a well done show.
Yeah, Johnny Pappas says you guys totally turned me onto the show. Really enjoyed it. Thank you. I'm
awesome.
Glad you're watching it. He also says J.K. Simmons is playing the physicality of both the different Howards so well.
Right. It's not just in the acting, and it's body movements. You're so right there. Good call.
Yeah. If you notice, Howard Prime sits back in his chair and is very relaxed with his legs crossed and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Meek Howard is always sitting forward, kind of almost like he's kind of protecting himself in a way. Yeah.
Well, he's meek, so he's supposed to. He doesn't look comfortable. Okay, so it's just simply
body language.
So it's and it's putting off which is total bullshit, especially when you're playing the long game. So it's
exactly.
Great.
Yeah, he says he makes Howard non-prime look like such a lemming. Yeah, he definitely does.
It's almost too much at this point. So, and that's why it was good that the nice Howard punched Aldrich in the face. That was kind of okay. So he's got a set of balls, and the other Howard was like a little bit impressed with it. But yeah,
I did like. Did you catch the when he brought the bowl of ice in for Aldrich? He goes, "Your face looks a little puffy."
Yeah.
and Howard Prime kind of gives a little smirk.
Yeah, that was funny. That was funny.
Yeah,
So,
it made me laugh a little bit.
It's getting late, so we should probably wrap this bad boy up. For the few of you that joined us in the comments, thanks, guys. Jody and who else was in there?
Eric Barley, Johnny Pappas, Jody, Forrest, and Ghost World came in, and Sisame even came in being a ninja for a little bit. He just popped in and popped back out.
That's cool. And, that's cool.
RoboBrain 10,000.
Oh, he's got the RoboBrain, the regulars. What's up, guys? So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for some Star Trek Discovery. Only 2 more episodes left, and that will be at 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. And earlier in the day, actually, I'm sorry, got ahead of myself. So sometime earlier in the day, we're not really sure. I'm gonna say around maybe 5 Pacific. No, it'll have to be earlier than that. Maybe 4 Pacific time. We're gonna do another Altered Carbon, just an Altered Carbon podcast for basically the middle episodes, and then we're going to do the finale on Monday since we don't have anything on Monday. So and then Wednesday it's No Happy, very sad about that, but it's X-Files, then Friday Night Live, and then we're going to move Counterpart to Sunday.
Yay.
Yeah, so I like that. I don't know, I kind of like to have a podcast on Saturday, but that we'll figure something out. But yeah, we're gonna move Counterpart to Sunday, and it'll be on just before Star Trek Discovery, or the finale of Star Trek Discovery, which I think is going to be an hour later because John is doing working for Rob from Rob Has a Podcast, which is, if you haven't heard of Rob Has a Podcast, he's one of the Survivor guys. And he does a Big Brother podcast, and they're doing Celebrity Big Brother, and John is producing his podcasts right now. John just put up his TPK games. It's on our channel now. It's 3 hours long, and it's they're playing D&D, and it's a campaign. And I guess this is a thing. I had never heard of it, but John said that it's a thing, so I said cool. And yeah, if you want to check that out. And all of our podcasts and videos are at nerdrotic.com. We have a Patreon, which is nerdrotic, which is patreon.com/nerdrotic. Thank you for all those who signed up, and including Viking Bitch. Sorry, I didn't get your names. I know I promised that, but we're going to start thanking all of our patrons Sunday, which would be a much bigger podcast, by the way. And Dennis has a Twitter. It's at DeForce, DAFORCE. Mine is at Nerdrotics. And thanks for everybody who's watching and supporting us. And we've had so many subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, but ring the bell. But man, we've almost we're close to hitting 100 in a week. We gained 100 in a week.
Wow,
that is unbelievable. Cool. So thank you very much. It's humbling. So any final words there, Dennis?
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America and the rest of the world.
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness. See you tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.